Now, with an interview with Chris Lowe, Nick Saban basically said the quiet part out loud in a way. And the truth is, the way college football is structured right now, after all these monumental changes, coaches have lost a lot of leverage. And when you lose leverage, you lose a lot of control. Control over being able to know who's coming back consistently. Control over being able to construct a depth chart due strictly to who practices better and who has earned it. You lose a lot of your ability to cultivate long-lasting program culture, which takes the result even further out of your hands. Now, to quote Nick Saban exactly, he said, "So I'm saying to myself, maybe this doesn't work anymore, that the goals and aspirations are just different, and that it's all about how much money I can make as a college player." Now, I'm not saying that's bad, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's never been what we're all about, and that's not why we had success throughout the years. Now, I agree that players should be paid for NIL, but with no guardrails and no balance, it goes from a part of the motivation to the main motivation. Now, that isn't a brand new concept. Guys have been motivated by making money in the NFL for a long time, but you didn't get that reward until you finished college, outside of what the booster slid your way before you committed. So one can want players to get rewarded, but are we trading the most valuable lesson of college football for valuable pieces of printed paper? Saban sustained success so long for many reasons, but his best poker play was being malleable even when he was at the top because he had control. And a great poker player knows when to hold 'em, knows when to fold 'em, knows when to walk away, and knows when to run to your $17 million island that you just bought because you can't control all the variables anymore. And he's smart to do it. I'm going to bring in not my former quarterback, but former Michigan quarterback David Cohn. He'll always be my current quarterback. My brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. He'll always be my brother. It's an iron claw situation. It's all love over here, but not going to end like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I got what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
You're saying.
David, the game has changed.
Yes.
And, we got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time with this NIL situation. With no guardrails, they let the monster out to attack the villagers, and you've seen coaches lose that control. And it's really, really hard right now to be able to consistently have a roster that you feel like you have molded the piece of clay as much as you possibly can. You're only like co-parenting now, and it's tough.
Well said, and you're open. I was wondering what you're going to say. I think you were spot on there. Let's not forget either that Nick Saban's 72 years old. That's the primary reason for him retiring. If he were 50 years old, I don't care what the players did after the Rose Bowl, he was going to whip the thing into shape and come back next year. I do find this interview very, very telling, though, and all of the reactions that I saw to this interview fell into one of two categories. Either one, Nick Saban is exactly right. Money is ruining college football. The game is not the same, and I'm done with it. Or two, Nick Saban is just mad that he's not the only one who can pay players anymore, and he wants to exploit their talents, and so go on and be gone and good riddance. I think it's a low resolution on either side of the argument there. I mean, yes, this has ushered in a new wave of college football without any sort of guardrails. And anytime the NCAA does try and put some rules in place, we've gone to class action lawsuits now or antitrust lawsuits like we've just seen here in Tennessee. And the NCAA has brought a lot of this on themselves. We can have leadership in college football without everything falling off the rails. That's what I think. So I think Nick Saban needs to take a leadership role in college football, to be honest. I know he's going to go work at ESPN. I know he's going to be on television, but he can help bring about some positive change from my perspective. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We can solve a lot of these problems and college football can still be great, even if players are able to capitalize monetarily in some aspects.
I agree that there is some middle area of the Venn diagram where it equals out, and we can have both. We can't go all the way back to the way it used to be, but we can't jump to some utopia that really doesn't exist and ends up burning.
Well, you said something good too from a coaching perspective, and both you guys coaches. Most of the coaches actually would rather the guys get paid. That's one of the things that frustrated me about a lot of the comments I saw on this Nick Saban article. The coaches would rather the guys just get paid and have a salary so that they know, hey, here's the amount of money you're making next year. Don't come to me after the Rose Bowl saying, what am I going to get paid? You're already under contract. It's like in the NFL. You know what you're getting paid next year. If you want to go be a free agent when your contract's done, that's fine. And also, they may not have to spend 365 days of their lives out on the recruiting trail because it does just become more of a financial contractual obligation.
Well, Trey Wallace, our buddy from Outkick, wrote an article yesterday I thought was really good, and Dan Mullen talked about the NCAA didn't listen to the coaches before they did this. And that's why it's all falling apart. They didn't come to the coaches and say, hey, what do you guys think is the best way to not let you guys just lose all leverage and power, right, to be able to kind of nuance this thing and move it forward. But they didn't listen to them. They just threw it out because they got scared. Blaine, you know, when you look at the reason why some of these guys, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Steve Spurrier, some of these coaches that we've seen have a ton of success in college, go to the NFL and struggle is because, you know, they don't have all the power like you do in college. The players are making more money than you are in the NFL. So there's not a ton of yelling that goes on in practice. We always talk about the difference between a relationship with a coach and a player in college football as opposed to the NFL, which to me is kind of the right evolution of it because, I need to crack down on you when you're younger, and when then you get 18 and you go out and you're in the real world, I'm still your father, I'm still your parent, I'm still responsible for you, but our relationship's a lot different. It's a lot different when you sit down and have a beer with your father or parents, or, you know, you're going through that different stage of life. It just seems like we've kind of blended the two, and Nick Saban doesn't want to operate in that world.
In the NFL? I mean, no. I mean, not at all, but I do think Nick's so used to, you got to remember what Nick had when he was on his reign, his terror. I remember watching Alabama, I don't know if it was Notre Dame, but some bowl game, killing somebody, and their third-string running back and fourth-string, their third-string running back was Eddie Lacy, and their fourth-string running back was Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
Remember the Alabama teams and the depth they had? You will never be able to do that again with NIL and the transfer portal. Nick Saban hoarded all the talent, all the 5-stars, because it was this. Alabama and them weren't the only team paying players.
Yeah.
I promise you that. Everybody was, but Alabama built a culture behind that. They were the pipeline to the NFL. They checked all the boxes. If you wanted to get rich and go play in the NFL, where do you go? Mm-hmm. You go to Alabama, and you would be willing to wait. You would be willing to wait to get your chance to play for Nick Saban and play for Alabama, win a national championship, and go to the NFL. Now, that's not going to happen. If I'm a freshman, I'm not sitting for 2 years to get the chance to play at Alabama when I can go start at another school, get more money, and do it now. It's just the way the world works. That's why we will never see, in my opinion, the dominance on every aspect of the game that Nick Saban had.
Well, if anybody can do it, in my opinion, you have to have all the resources possible. It's got to be Kirby Smart, but it's never been harder right now. That's the whole point. Not that Nick Saban is running from a fight. That's not what I'm saying. But this is the evolution of the game. That this is a new era of and a new level of control, which is lower, that a head coach has. Like Blaine was saying, that's case in point right there. The old NIL, right, that wasn't under the table payments during recruiting, that wasn't, hey, there's an envelope in your locker after the game. It was NFL. That's what it was. That everybody's motivated by money, right? And 99% of people are motivated by money. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing in a lot of cases. But it's that time that you are willing to put in and grind your way through it. Yeah, you may be getting some kickbacks on the side if you go to Bama or Auburn or some of these places, Tennessee, whatever. But you're not getting that big check, that long money, that, hey, I need a machine to count this money, right? I'm in a state with a pool and a gate money until you got to the NFL. Now, hell, you can play in college, David, for 8 years. Yeah. You can get paid. You know, Caitlin Clark's taking a pay cut to go to the WNBA, to give you one example, but we're seeing that in football too. So it's a different era. It's a changing of the guard.
Sure, but even more than the players asking how much am I going to get paid, he said, look, I was really disappointed in the way our Alabama players acted after the Rose Bowl game, after we lost to Michigan. You got to win with class, you got to lose with class. We had our opportunities, but we're frustrated and throwing helmets, doing all that stuff. That's not not who we are. That's not the program we've created. So my question to you guys is, does that just speak more of a new generation that's coming in? Because this right here, these are still the players that he brought in and that he's developed. So if they're acting that different from the players that he used to coach, is that just a generational thing, or did he not coach this team the same way as he did before?
I think it's a generational thing. I think that's why you see 75 people at a time running into a CVS and robbing them and driving a car through the front of a store and running in there, or just going in there and just shoplifting without caring. I think it's a generational issue, but it does go back to control. Nick Saban said he would get out when he wasn't as effective as he used to be. That doesn't mean Nick Saban can't get after you the way he used to get after you, like physically, but now you go rip a player's ass on the reg, he's just going to transfer. Like, you don't have the power of, you want to transfer? You're going to have to sit a year. We had Houston Nutt on the show a year and a half ago. What did he tell guys before spring? Hey, you may want to transfer, and I'll sign your transfer eventually, but you're going to have to sit a year. Why don't you just go through spring? Why don't you let me coach you the way I want to coach you? And if you still want to leave, then you can leave. What do you say? 99.9% of players ended up not transferring. Now, hell, at really any point, you can pull the parachute, right, and say, you know what, I'm gone. You can't coach them the way you used to, especially when they start making the level of money that we're seeing. What's Lincoln Riley going to tell Caleb Williams? What's he going to say? You think he's going to rip Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Right? And coaches have been playing favorites for a long time. But it's one thing to not get after somebody because you're trying to bring them along and you know how they are from a personality standpoint. It's another thing to not have control over being able to get after people because they'll just leave. Then all of a sudden there's a hole in the roster. Now we got to go get a transfer.
Yeah.
Like Nick Saban was one of the things he was best at was roster management. One of the best in the world at it. Percentages down. If you ask guys that work for him or coached around him, the way he handled a roster, he was like Michelangelo, right? Or just like the Da Vinci of roster management. Well, now the roster's so fluid, you really can't manage it because you don't know. You piss off the wrong person or you piss off mama, it's turned into high school. Right? There used to be a day where you said, you know what? Here's what we'll do. You got a problem with it? I'll put his stuff out in front of the field house. You can drive up here, and he can go sit out a year and try and play. You can't do it anymore.
Well, I would love to think that college football can still be one of the greatest sports in this country, even if the players partake in the profit sharing. But also we have to acknowledge if money's the only thing that we're putting at the forefront and that's the only consideration at all times, then of course college football is not going to be as great as it once was. And that's not the only thing. I'm talking about any other business endeavor too. Like it's fine to try and maximize profits, but there are other considerations. How you conduct yourself, how you conduct your business, the principles you stand on, that's ultimately going to determine the success that you have in life.
I agree, and I think that's something that Nick Saban kind of alluded to. Is the journey to get there. Are we sacrificing the lesson that is learned for printed paper money that we all know is probably going to disappear here in about 5 to 10 years anyway? What's up, YouTube? Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn that notification bell on. If you like the video, hit the like button because we'd like you to like that.